The Western Illinois University student who's accused of shooting his roommate in September appeared in court in person for the first time here at the McDonough County Courthouse. 18-year-old Kavion Popoulos is currently 2 blocks away inside the McDonough County Jail after pleading not guilty in front of the judge. Take a look at video as deputies walked him into the building Tuesday. He held his head down coming in, but during the hearing, he shook his head in denial to accusations told by police and the state's attorney's office. The judge took up a motion to possibly reduce Popoulos' bond, which is set at $1 million, but it was denied. Also during the hearing, police released the name of the other student they say Popoulos shot, a Marion Hargrove, who is still recovering. A WIU detective was first to take the stand as he gave his account after interviewing Hargrove, Popoulos, and several other people involved. Police say Popoulos was having issues with Hargrove over girls earlier that evening. The girls were with Popoulos and Hargrove on a bus, but once one of the girls felt threatened by Popoulos, they all got off. The detective said that's when Popoulos told the group, "Y'all are falling into my trap." A couple hours later, the resident assistant in Thompson Hall tried to separate Popoulos and Hargrove into different rooms, but they both declined. Hargrove later went back to the RA and said threats were being made by Popoulos. Popoulos then walked up on the conversation, and from there, police say he yelled, "Why did you do that?" Back in the student's dorm room, police say Hargrove pushed Popoulos, and then Popoulos pulled a gun out of his backpack, shooting the victim 5 times. Police said they later found the gun in a wooded area outside of Thompson Hall. And Popoulos' family was in the courtroom during the hearing. His mom was very emotional. She didn't want to go on camera, but she accuses the RA of lying about their side of the story, but she wouldn't explain further. A pretrial hearing is set for January 5th. Hargrove is expected to make a full recovery. In MACOMB, reporting for News 3, I'm Devin.
People talk about it every once in a while.
For more than 80 years, a town in McDonough County has been dry.
Thinking about us, being dry all these years when other towns, have approved.
Colchester Mayor FRANCIE Welch says that approval has failed 4 times in the town.
People think they need to be voting yes when they need to be voting no.
On November 3rd, residents in Colchester will have yet another chance to allow the sale of alcohol.
I really do believe that's because they're not reading it. 47, 48, 49, let's see if we can find the 73.
Colchester City Clerk Donna Wetzel says the last time the measure was voted on was back in 1973.
About 230.
Welch says back then, 230 residents signed a petition to get the alcohol referendum back on the ballot. It didn't pass, but now fast forward to 2020.
Well, we just started walking, my wife and I, and like I said, in the evenings, get 10 or 12 names.
Longtime resident Randy Weir went door to door and collected 270 signatures, even though only 225 were needed.
And next thing you know, it's adding up, and I'm thinking, well, I believe it's going to maybe work.
And it's hard to find anyone who wants to vote yes on this measure. I went to the local gas station to hear what residents have to say, and everyone I talked to said they want the sale of alcohol. We're doing a story on the liquor vote here in Colchester. I'm doing a story on the liquor vote.
Number one is time. It's time. There's never been alcohol for years in this town.
But now in the town of about 1,500, it'll be up to the voters once again.
I would have people come in to my office and want to know what they had to do to get alcohol on the ballot.
In Colchester, reporting for News 3, I'm Devin Brooks. Officials are still investigating what all took place the night of September 15th. But in this News 3 exclusive report, the first officer who responded to the call says he wasn't sure what to expect, but it was one of his worst fears.
Dozens of things all at once. Is it real? Sometimes we get false reports.
Sergeant Curtis Bilbrey is still looking back on a day he'll never forget.
We were not sure whether the shooter was still on scene or not.
This 15-year WIU Office of Public Safety officer was the first on scene after receiving the call of a student shot inside WIU's Thompson Hall.
The main concern was for the safety of the public and the fear of how many people were injured or if somebody was in fact injured.
The call came out just after 10:30 p.m. Bilbrey says the scene was chaos as students raced out of the building as the fire alarm sounded.
The building was being evacuated, so students were everywhere.
Stayed awake and started getting ready, and And then dispatcher Becker called back and said, it is real, we have a victim.
WIU Lieutenant Derek Watts was called in his sleep and says he knew he had to act fast.
A million things going through your head at the same time, trying to prioritize what you needed to get done.
Dozens of officers rushed to the scene with uncertainty.
We allowed people to filter out of the building, searching for the shooter as people were evacuating. And then once the crowd cleared, then we immediately went up to the 12th floor.
The officers say their training was put to the test.
Trained for the worst, and that day it happened.
But it's a situation the officers hope show how important their job is and why they answered the call.
There's some people in law enforcement that perhaps should not be in this chosen field, but the vast majority of officers want to help people.
There were nearly 60 officers that responded to the scene that night. Watts says the school is looking into upgrading security cameras, but they also want to stress that if you see something, say something. He says no guns are allowed on campus. In studio, reporting for News 3, I'm Devin Brooks. It's described as a light in the room.
Need good luck from you.
He's also considered the biggest fan you can have.
He's just Mike.
Because I was in a wheelchair, people assumed that I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that.
Michael Martinez is a 27-year-old sophomore at Carl Sandburg College who everyone knows, but not because he rolls around in a wheelchair. It's because of his spirit for others.
Caring, whenever you need somebody, he's always there.
Though if you meet Michael, he focuses on his ability, not disability. And that's how he's able to coach sports teams, not letting his disability of spina bifida keep him from being at sports games and leading groups on campus.
It's amazing to feel the love, the atmosphere. Take good shots, play defense. When you play defense, you get a score. You got to capitalize off those.
He's very energetic. He brings life wherever he goes.
Now Michael is looking to take a step further.
This chair gives Michael an opportunity to get a little more mobility.
Mike says this chair will make a difference for him because it's going to give him the ability to do what he has not been able to do for years, but now making this possible will be able to let him talk to people while standing.
I was always stuck in the house, watching out the window, watching my friends do things.
But by raising enough money for this new chair, walking and standing becomes a reality for Michael.
It was always, Michael can't do this, Michael can't do that, so why even invite him?
And now his friends want to make a change in his life.
Michael's going to do great things with this chair.
Michael hopes this encourages other people with disabilities to see that they are not left out.
Whatever disability they may have, you don't even notice it because you look past that.